Hello, and welcome to Carbonwhy, the channel that's catered to those who are avid lifelong learners. My channel explores the how, what, where, why the world works the way it does. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button so that you can get notified of my next video. In this week's episode, we find out why taxes are so confusing in the US. There's nothing more stressful than taxes, am I right? Filing taxes seems almost painful by design here in the US, and the tax code is incredibly complicated and over 7 million words long. The IRS estimates the average taxpayer spends around 12 hours working on it every year and ends up paying an average of $230 to get their paperwork filed. Taxes are complicated. If you work in a different state than the one you live, you have to pay federal income tax for both states, plus pay the federal income tax for the city or state that you work in. And that's not even counting all the other taxes you might also have, or the exemptions and tax cuts you might be privy to. For some people, their taxes are the largest single financial transaction they make every year. Believe it or not, but tax experts say that all those forms and schedules in the tax code is actually designed to help us save money, if the filer knows how to navigate the code, that is. There are 70,000 pages worth of rules and deductions and credits for every possible thing. And if you know how it works, you can use it to your advantage. But the thing is, most people don't have that knowledge. And that's why there's so much fear of the IRS and paying taxes amongst so many people. So, if it's supposed to help, why is it so complicated? And what exactly am I doing when I file my taxes every year if each paycheck I get has a line-by-line breakdown of all the money that's automatically withheld for federal, state, and city income tax? Well, each tax season, the process we go through is to settle what we owe, according to the tax code, with what we've already paid in through withholding. Still, it's a complex process because there's often mismatches with what we've already paid and with what we owe. Rather than giving out checks to people who need financial or social aids, Congress uses the tax code to run a large number of social benefits. This basically means that, in theory, you can reduce the amount of tax you have to pay by claiming the relevant deductions, credits, and expenses on your tax return. It really comes down to knowing how to take advantage of the tax code so that it can benefit you in the long run. The IRS website explicitly states that you can use the code to benefit you as much as you can. Better start working on that tax plan for next tax season, huh? But some argue that it's an unnecessary hassle to have to itemize and identify all the deductions and credits you might be applicable for, while others think it's vital in leveling the playing field. There's flat tax, a tax rate that's the same for both low and high income earners, and it works great for some people, but not so much for others. Like for someone who's a single parent and working in a low-income job, the flat tax might not work for them compared to a higher income earner with no children. Tax breaks and deductions aren't the only reason that filing your taxes every year is complicated. The US tax system is complex for a number of reasons. In the US, households are taxed instead of individuals, and many people have more than one job. So, if you haven't made adjustments, then your second job may be taxed as if it was your primary source of income as well. And this complicates things for you, because in a system with graduated tax rates, the withholding may not always be correct. The way people earn money is not always straightforward, and the tax system may seem complex if you have income from different categories. Individuals can earn income three different ways. There's portfolio income, which is through trading stocks and bonds. There's passive income, which is created through things like real estate. And there's income from what we earn in our salaries. Another reason why taxes are so confusing is politics. Income tax goes back to the 16th Amendment that was approved in 1913. But since then, a lot of presidents have come and gone and made their own changes and overhauls to the tax code. Traditionally, each new president has a tax reform policy that they put in place during their presidency, but they sometimes can't always remove the changes that were made before them. So instead, politicians continue to add to what's already there. For politicians, if they can help some economic sector that's important in the states they're running for, that can be a political benefit that contributes to their seat in office. And so, there's lots of incentives for Congress to add even more tax breaks. Because there are always going to be people running for positions in office, there's always going to be new tax breaks created. And experts say that this is part of the reason why the tax code keeps getting longer. Complex provisions are always being added to it, even though most just want tax simplification. But figuring out which forms and schedules apply to you isn't exactly the easiest thing to do yourself either. It is possible to do your taxes by hand, but it's very difficult and hardly anyone does it anymore. It's too much of a hassle for most people to take the time to research the tax code and the different credits. So they turn to accounting and tax preparation services instead, which is great for companies in the $11 billion business of tax preparation services. H&R Block, TurboTax, and Jackson Hewitt are some of the biggest players in the tax prep software space. These companies' role is to help taxpayers understand the tax laws and be able to apply it themselves in a way that they can benefit from it. Because it doesn't matter if someone is a high-income earner or low-income earner, there are tax breaks out there that everyone can benefit from. They just have to know where to look. But hiring help doesn't always come cheap. Taxpayers spend upwards of $200 to prepare and file their taxes, on top of whatever they may already owe the government in taxes. TurboTax, which is owned by Intuit, made over $3.1 billion from its consumer tax segment in the fiscal year 2020. That's up 25% from 2 years prior. But the rise of free online tax prep is hampering the for-profit tax prep sector, and for years Intuit has warned TurboTax that free government-run tax services could hinder business growth. Over 20 states offer their own freemium filing portal that allows residents to prepare and file state income taxes for free online. 70% of Americans are eligible to file their federal taxes for free through the online IRS Free File, which is a public-private partnership between the IRS and an alliance of tax prep companies called the Free File Alliance, which ironically includes TurboTax. What this means is that roughly 100 million people could be filing their taxes for free. The Free File Alliance was launched in 2003, but only a fraction of those eligible actually use it. In 2020, only 4.2 million of the 100+ million eligible taxpayers opted to use the program for their tax returns, and that was a 50% increase from 2019. The Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration released an audit in 2020 to understand why so few taxpayers actually use the Free File program. The report estimates that over 14 million taxpayers in 2019 paid for tax prep software that they could have gotten for free. The audit blames the complexity of the program and confusing design, coupled with a lack of awareness by taxpayers of the program's existence and inadequate oversight by the IRS. In 2020, the IRS ended its partnership with Free File amidst political and media backlash when it stopped making the promise to not offer a rival product for 20 years. But industry big names like Jackson Hewitt say that tax reform and simplification would be welcome news. The tax process abroad in places like Belgium, Spain and Denmark is much simpler. Residents simply have to check the government's math on their pre-populated returns. It's so simple that it can be done on a cell phone. One YouTuber even posted a walkthrough of the entire process for filing his income tax return that took all of 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Why can't we make some of those best practices from abroad to make our lives in the US easier? Since more than 87% of taxpayers take the standard deduction instead of itemizing their returns since President Trump's overhaul in 2017. Besides, for most taxpayers, the government already knows your income because of the W-2 and 1099 forms your employer sends to the IRS. So, on both the income and deduction side of things, the calculations are already pretty straightforward. There have been proposals for the IRS to mail out draft returns to taxpayers who are in straightforward situations to make it easier, with the idea being that if your income is all earned, then the IRS would fill the draft form out for you and send it to you to check over and make whatever adjustments you need and then send it back in. This is done in a number of other countries and it works, so why can't we do it here? Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and watch these videos that might pique your interest. Thank you for your support.